I don't know what's going on, but there's like a bald CEO meta going on with this because like the CTA that you have is you like shave your hamster and then you become a CEO, which I just fuck with. I'm going to be paying more attention to hairless people from now on out.
Oh, right. Derek, first theme song.
I love it.
It's so good.
I love it.
We're back. We're back. Episode 32 of Internet Explorers. Where we shoot the shit on the week in consumer crypto and try to make some of it make sense, which is getting increasingly hard as the weeks go on, and somehow things just continue getting crazier. As you can obviously see, Jess is out this week, but I'm joined by an equally, if not more, well-spoken participant in the.
Well, let's say equally. I have a high respect for Jess.
Yeah, he's a good speaker. Derek, thanks for hanging out today, man.
100%. I'm excited to dig in and try and make sense of some of the noise happening out there in consumer crypto. And stoked you guys even asked me. I'm feel like I'm running on fumes these days, but excited to kind of unpack with you.
Yeah, that's often how these Fridays go. Like the brain is cooked, and I don't know. I feel like the better takes come out when you're exhausted and overthinking stuff, right? So
agreed.
Yeah, excited to. I think I like Jess and I hang out too much, and I know what he thinks. I think sometimes before he even thinks it. So I'm excited to have a fresh perspective. I really don't know some of your kind of perspectives on the current meta. So yeah, really excited to get into it. So have a pretty packed show today. Going to kick off with Chris from Floor, bring him up in a sec, and then Derek, that segment is what the fuck did Peace do on chain, which is a 5-minute segment where Peace shows us some weird part of the internet that I'm sure you haven't seen, and then. Yeah, some heavy topics. We got crypto social, token market fit, some Polymarket, NOTCOIN, get into the TON ecosystem. Some fun stuff. We'll see if we get to the lightning round, put a bunch of stuff in there too. I doubt we will because we rarely do, but we'll see what happens. Awesome. But I know, Chris is running on a tight schedule today. I think had a pretty packed day of meetings. So let's bring him up.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Chris? Welcome to the show, man.
Sure.
Do you guys
Thanks
know
for
each other?
having me. We know each other well. So Derek's actually a longtime supporter of Floor, investor in our first round, and just generally a great, smart guy to have in your corner. So it was really funny when you said Derek was going to be out there with you. I was like, oh, cool. It's great.
That's awesome. That's why you said yes, right?
No, say yes to you any day.
Nice. Yeah, man. Excited to hear more about what you guys have been cooking up. I think until probably this week, I was still pretty anchored on Floor as like the NFT portfolio tracker. I think, started using it pretty early on when you guys first released. It was cool when NFTs were a thing. And then I think as that kind of calmed down and died, I lost track of it. But it was cool to see you guys have been cooking along and kind of, moving along as the space has evolved. So yeah, excited to dig into it. Maybe to kick things off, do you just want to kind of take us back to the like initial starting point insight that led to your starting of Floor, and then you can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So go all the way back to September 21. A lot of smart people were saying NFTs were cool, and I didn't know that yet. And so I started playing around, and Floor really came out of my personal journey of it was just way too hard to get started. It was way too hard to stay involved. It was way too hard to stay on top of stuff. And what started as a problem point turned into a set of beliefs, which is that NFTs and digital ownership are going to be fundamental and transformative to the internet over the next decade. There is no desktop computer browser extension revolution of 2024. That's just like not how it goes down. Everything that's changed the way that we do stuff financially or socially for the last decade has been mobile first. It's happened where people are spending time with each other and where they're spending all their time and attention. And so Floor is our take on what it means to build something that real people might actually be able to get started in Web3 with, that makes it fun and easy to do it together. And importantly, in a world of like decentralized complexity, brings it all together and creates one space today that supports 9 chains, dozens of marketplaces. It just makes it really, really simple for you to, as a person who's in the space today, stay on top of everything. But what we're really focused on now is how do we also make it really easy for your 5 curious friends to say like, oh, hey, here's $10 of DGen, like come on in and try it out and see this world through my eyes. That's one of the big motivations for launching some of the stuff we did this week, like the wallet and all of that.
Nice, very cool. And yeah, I guess you're sitting at kind of the intersection of a bunch of pretty crowded markets, maybe with, you know, wallets and on-chain social feeds and portfolio trackers and kind of all the stuff that you've bundled into a single product. So I'm curious how you're seeing, I guess, Floor differentiate within that. Is it just by having this kind of mobile first bundled experience, or I don't know, is there kind of another insight here? What do you think it's going to take to win?
So I got the really fortunate experience back in 2011, 2012 to be part of building Venmo. And Venmo was a really interesting product in the US because it was the first time we challenged the idea of a product should be social or a product should be financial. And it should be social and financial. And I think that Web3, because of, it is a native medium for the intersection of those things, but decentralization just creates so much complexity. The other kind of requirement is aggregation. And so there is going to be a front end that combines mobile, aggregation, social, and finance, and creates that kind of intersection point that is so high leverage and so convenient for users that you can kind of capture and keep and gain a bunch of attention. There'll be a bunch of people who try to do that. I don't think there are any today really that are actually trying to do that. And I think there are lots of really awesome, credible folks who could take a crack at it when you look at the people who make wallets today. But wallets today are really just like signing key managers. Like we're not looking for Web3's one password moment. We're looking for Web3's Twitter moment, their Google moment. And I think a lot of those other folks will come more in this direction of discovery integrated with the places that you manage your money. But what Floor's really focused on is the parts of decentralized finance that you might actually want to do with friends. And I think that's where people are going to start getting involved. That's what we're really excited about.
Chris, I'll jump in. I've been watching you build Floor for a long time, and I think you've done an amazing job navigating as the metas have changed, as new information has come to light. I think there's definitely been consistency and like a through line you can chart back. And the product just feels like a more robust and refined product than where it started, but it's kind of like meeting the market where it's at. I'm curious, what would you say has been the biggest change in consumer behavior that you've noticed over the last couple of years? And maybe what's been the thing that has surprised you that has kind of remained the same? Like any of those core insights that you could share?
So from what people are doing is changing. Where people were buying $50,000 pictures of monkeys and looking at them and ostensibly enjoying the art a while ago. I think we're seeing a movement into the different classes of assets that people are collecting. The thing that's really surprised and delighted me though is actually seeing miniature software units getting created, kind of these token accelerated, token enabled dApps that allow people to do things, explore new things that are really only possible when you can add a token to them or some tokenomic device to them. That's been the bit that I think enjoyed the most. For us at Floor, NFTs was the word, but Floor's always been the place for the intersection of tokens and culture on your phone and the ways in which people are exploring culture through tokens have changed. Previously, it was purely visual NFTs that you could look at and feel. Today, meme coins occupy a lot more of that space. I do think NFTs will actually retake part of that position and later in the year. Similarly, micro dApps are starting to take some of that place. And importantly, and I think this is the thing that I'm most hopeful for, people are learning how these three things compose together to create holistic consumer experiences using each of the tools for what they're good at. So, I think NFTs as a store of value actually have a lot of flaws. A membership club where the only way to realize the value of it is to leave the club is like a fundamentally flawed concept. But when you compose NFTs and ERC20s and dApps, like all of a sudden you can create this really interesting fluid movement of membership, opportunity, value exchange. I think what I'm most excited about is people figuring out how to use those tools together better. I hope we can create interesting places for people to discover those interesting experiences and Floor.
Yeah, Chris, you kind of hinted at it that NFTs are probably going to come back at some point. But I'm curious, being someone who obviously started off very interested in NFTs and has probably thought deeply about them. Like, do you see them coming back in the way that, they were around 2-3 years ago? Obviously they'll come back in different forms, but I think we saw a punk sale in like the 20 ETH for the first time ever, or for the first time in like 3 years this week. So curious on your like kind of forward-looking take on the NFT ecosystem, and Derek, also interested what you say.
Yeah, I'd probably follow Derek on almost anything here. Like my general take is that there's a small rarefied strata of things that will always trade as they did back then. They're fundamentally important to the creation of a new industry. I don't believe long-term that the concentration of value in NFTs is actually the pattern that the industry is going to land on. So I think that, there's not as many as there certainly were in 2021. And I think we'll do more speculating on things that are what is happening there. Do a lot more speculating on things that are, easier to speculate on and have less friction, like meme coins and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll plus one there. I think like the easiest way for me to kind of like tee up an answer is just to think about how value works in traditional spaces. And I think contemporary art markets are valued somewhere around like $2 to $3 trillion, and global GDP is like 100 trillion. And so like the product and service portion of blockchains to me represents a much larger TAM, to Chris's point. But, $2 to $3 trillion is like still a massive multiple from where the NFT space is currently trading, and even smaller, like the fine art component of like the NFT space. So if you believe that like blockchains are just a formatting revolution that's going to absorb a lot of these categories of value, I think everything has upside potential from here at pretty tremendous multiples. If you're pilled and believe like this is the tech stack of the future, which I happen to believe, but I think maybe the point of debate right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably all in that camp. Cool. Yeah, Chris, you also mentioned, I think the potential power of Floor to just be a really great like onboarding door into crypto. I'm curious how you're thinking about. I think one thing we really need is just people going and like intentionally creating a market outside of crypto Twitter for their products. I think we just time and time again see people just launching in the same way to the same people, and you see the same things happen. So I'm curious how are you like intentionally going after that? Is there still just like a lot of room to grow within crypto before you worry about that?
There's room to grow in crypto for sure. I'm constantly torn here between my optimistic hopes and just realistically growing like the business. Realistically, there is more conventional swap volume and kind of revenue to be made serving the people who are here spending millions of dollars than there will be in any short time frame by serving folks that want to bring $50 on chain and explore for the first time. And so there's just like a certain amount of realism that we need to serve the market that's here, because they're power users who, in a highly financialized transactional market, are spending very large amounts of money. On the flip side, I actually think that there's a reinforcing network effect. If you can be the place that those people can influence and be with the people that they're bringing onto the space, whether that's influencers bringing on influencees or people organically bringing in their friends, if you can create the place where they can do that together, and particularly if there can be rewards around doing that, I think one can actually serve the other. I think that being in Web3 with your friend or with the person that you look up to can be a reason to come into the product, try and get started. Equally, having those people here can be kind of a reinforcing network effect for the folks that build audience here. I really think someone needs to build something that is the default answer to, oh, you're curious and I'm in, you should go get X. Like, there just isn't a good answer to that question today. I think the closest thing we have is in Solana meme coins. Probably the best answer is Phantom. I think that's the one place there's like some clarity. I don't see any clarity anywhere else. Like, go get MetaMask, go get Coinbase wallet, maybe less, but like still kind of not really. It's just so unclear what the no-brainer onboarding products are. I think actually today the answer is more verticalized. So like if there's very specific things you want to do, there are like products that are pretty good at like, if you want to do Friend.Tech, like, yeah, go get Friend.Tech. And like, that's a really good way to do Friend.Tech. But as people think about branching out into exploring the ecosystem more generally, I do struggle with this idea of I have 75 different wallets and passkeys for 75 different sites, and I have no idea where any of them are. I do think we have a little bit of pain waiting for us in that particular avenue as well.
Yeah, I feel like being almost the second place people go is like a really powerful position to be in, because I do think a lot of people are going to onboard into a product experience, right? There's going to be something that speaks to them. Maybe their friend tells them to go check out pump.fun or something. And, they suddenly they own some digital assets. They're like, oh, wow, that's cool. That felt different than anything I've done before. Like, what's next? And I think being the answer to that is a pretty powerful high leverage place to be.
Do you have a guess, Chris? Like, if it is like, does your spidey sense tell you it's going to happen around gaming or collectibles or art or social, or like, what do you think is the pass after the pass here, if you were to take a stab at that?
Oh, honestly, and I think I would have given a different answer last year out of pure optimism. I believe that a lot of the people who onboard during this cycle are going to do so on a speculative basis. And I used to hate that. And now I only somewhat, am worried about it for the space. But fundamentally, we say Web3 is a place where you can participate in the value of the networks that you're part of creating. And we do hope that those networks start to do more useful things. But actually, like, if Floor was just successful at slightly changing the shape of the types of people who came to explore this early and so got to be being part of Web3 early, that would make me really excited. And so I think you need safe ways to get exposure to this, just like any other new emerging type of thing. And if we can make it simple and increase the diversity of folks, geographically, gender, racial, whatever that is, of folks who feel like this is a place for them and that they can actually safely explore, that would be really exciting to me, even if it isn't around a particular use case. I do think we'll see a bunch of gaming stuff. I think gaming is just a place that lends itself so naturally, and the only reason it wouldn't happen is challenges with established players not knowing quite how or being kind of against it. But I actually think there's a lot of places that we're going to home grow things in time that actually could eat up things that have been created from the outside in the past.
I'm so curious, because it's like, it's really interesting. Yeah, I like that you were saying you're like less bummed about it being a speculative thing. And I just, I don't know, I've only been into crypto for 4 years now. So I'm a first cycler, and like, it feels like there's this desire to grow up or something. And I feel almost like every single crypto cohort has that same desire to grow up, where the people before them made tools slightly easier to use. They come in and are like, yeah, now we can add this use case because this is what makes it actually make sense. And then the people before them are like, yeah, but no, not like that. Like, that's not what it's for. And then we make it easier to use and more people come in and they start doing something new. And we're like, but not like that. And all along the way, there just becomes this increasing social legibility that is like speculative, yet entirely social all the way down. And yeah, I can't tell if it matters if it's gaming or if it's some new way to stunt online or something like that. But I just think it's, all these tensions are just interesting. And I just had to say that out loud, I guess.
No, you're right. Like, if you zoom out, the thing that I'm most excited about is I think Web3 gives us the apparatus to allow 1 billion people to be entrepreneurs and to create their own like little one-person shows where if you can capture the attention of a group of people, there is a native financial currency on the internet. That means, if you're in a hut somewhere, like, you have just as much ability to actually transact and turn that attention into real financial upside as someone sat in New York City in a studio. The only thing that Web2 was ever successful at really financializing in that area is people taking short videos of themselves and putting them on the internet. And I think we're going to see that explode into 100 categories of people who practice some craft online, can get a small following, get a small group of people's attention. We can now have tools. And this is why I think meme coins, while we're doing some pretty absurd things with them, are fundamentally so important. It is financializing attention. And that is like a new primitive that you can then use to turn to things like that and allow people to actually create value. What we haven't done is allow kind of extraction by the creator very well yet. But
yeah, I want to actually, so I love that view. And I don't know if it's often repeated, but there is this flattening between like the value creator and the value consumer that like this technology really does. And in traditional spaces, it's like the data is like this, 50% of GDP in the US is generated from small to medium-sized businesses. And if you think about it, like this technology is actually pretty decent at allowing that number to probably increase over time. And if for nothing else, then for early things like artists being able to monetize their art for the first time, or musicians being able to launch meme coins for the first time, or indie gamers or indie game studios with less than 5 people being able to launch a network that trades at a $25 million market cap. These aren't like home runs, but like in the aggregate, like the technology is working and adoption is happening. And I think maybe the reframe that I would like double click on that you're mentioning here, Chris, is I think instead of looking for like what's the killer app or the killer use case, and recognize that like by virtue of just individuals being able to create livelihood in a much more meaningful way, that could actually be one of the killer ways to kind of frame this technology revolution.
I love that. Yeah, it's just like blowing open the optionality of how you can exist and make money online. And I think even just the shift from like, in Web 2 venture capital, it's like it's a 0 or it's a 1000x, and even just like the ability to have a 5x is like it's just completely new thing.
You're nailing it right now. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Yeah, I know we're over time. Appreciate you jumping in here. Could talk for hours, but it was great to hear the kind of vision for Floor. Yeah, what's the thing to do if people are kind of intrigued about the product?
Yeah, come tell us how to make your ideal home for you on chain in your phone. Floor.fun, get the app. It's in-app chat support. Myself and Christine, my co-founder, pretty much will be on that a lot of the time. That and a couple of folks who help man it. We really, really are serious about taking everyone's feedback to create the product that is right for you. And so the majority of features, one way or another, comes from people just like you. Like, hey, I wish you did this. I'm like, great, let's do it. Thank you so much for having me. I really wish I could stay for an hour. I could literally chat with you guys forever.
We'll do it again sometime.
This is fun.
All right, dude.
Right on.
Peace. Nice. That was the first time ever talking to Chris, actually.
Chris is awesome. And his co-founder, Christine, like goated founders. Those guys are amazing, super sharp on product. And I think he undersold how attentive he is to like feedback and like baking that into the product, because that's honestly like we're exceptional at that.
And you guys were you like early investors? Yeah.
We were early investors in Floor.
Very sick. All right, Peace, what do you got for us?
Nice. So pretty inactive week for me, unfortunately. And I missed this mint. But I love it, man. I don't know. Solana just continues to have these awesome drops, and they always sell out like immediately. So I missed this, and then it's great because you can just go to so this is Edible Kawaii. Sorry, I'm like jumping all over the place here, but it's 3,333 deliciously kawaii demons cooked by Kikillo on Solana. And this is a creator who like definitely was selling high-end, high-quality tokens on the Foundation app only 4 years ago. And now they're doing a Solana drop, and it's really cool. And they were dirt cheap, sold out in an instant. And so what did I do? I went to Tensor Trade, and I bought rares. You know, you flip that on. I don't know. Does it matter? It doesn't really matter. Probably. Oh, come on.
You have a nice little Solana.
I love these things.
Yeah.
They do awesome drop. Like all the good art is dropping on Solana right now. Like it's pretty active, and there's some interesting, people out there making stuff. But I really liked these characters from the collection, so I grabbed this like faux Kirby Jigglypuff thing, which is kind of the signature Kikillo vibe. Like, can I even? I'm not spelling their name right. Oh yeah, there we go. So this is this artist. They're super cool. And yeah, like the rares are going for the high price of like $50 or something. So it's
Beautiful, isn't it?
it's a fun thing. And the thing that I need to do that I'll report back on is I need to bridge my Soggets to Bitcoin. Absolutely pathetic that I haven't loved. Yeah, I was liking seeing the Sogget action on floor. But this is the creator of Bitcoin Puppets, and this is an NFT collection that they have on Ethereum from a couple years back, and we're bridging, baby. We're going to the mother chain. So I'll report back once I compress this little shit and inscribe it, and maybe that'll be next week. So that's what I've got going on.
Derek, are you collecting on Solana or Bitcoin at all?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I've never heard of any of these collections, which is
It's the point of the segment. Yeah.
this is awesome. I'm not even quite sure what I'm looking at right now, but it's the art's killer. What's the end game for the Kawaii collection?
I think we already reached it. I think the collector has monetized, and people who bought it can trade it. And I think
That's it.
I think so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I wanted. I was like, I'm not gonna not own one of these. They're cool, and that's as far as I thought on my end.
Awesome.
You don't need to go any further.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a big downfall last cycle, was just trying to like layer on utility or overcomplicate these things, and owning digital assets is just amazing in its own right.
Totally. And I really like can I find the thing if I search Kawaii Demons Solana NFT? I don't know. What do we get? Here we go. Yeah, these sites, they're like all the NFT drops are always on, like Launch My NFT or like Truffle. And I just like the vibe because you get to create these different time slots. Maybe some of them are allow lists, and you get a price each individual one.
Oh, that's cool.
People do these like 24-hour drops, and it's like always on a janky product, but yeah, I don't know. They go quick, and it's.
And what was the dollar value for minting? Like, what did you pay?
Well, I missed the mint, so I don't know. I paid like 0.09 Sol for one and 0.3 Sol for another.
Awesome. I love it.
They're like, oh yeah, public mint was 0.1137 Sol. It was like dirt cheap.
Yeah. Cool.
Very sick. Thanks, Peace.
Yeah.
Let's jump to crypto social. So I just kind of created this like umbrella topic here, because I think generally it was just an insane week on the timeline. Every time I opened it, people were just mad about something, trying to make sense. We're trying to make sense of like what the hell was happening in consumer crypto. I think, saw just mother performance and Solana coins, just having crypto purists in shambles. I think people continue just using like Friend.Tech to make these broad generalizations about, the opportunity in crypto social. And I just continue seeing this general sentiment right now that you like can't build lasting consumer products here, or like no one, and it's just going to be these kind of like rotating casinos and gambling forever. And I just like strongly disagree with that. So I just wanted to create some space to kind of.
Yeah. Well, what's your take? I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think first of all, the like speculation and financialization of anything is just the most tangible killer feature of crypto. and it unlocks experience that I think are just so much more obviously differentiated from anything in Web 2 than any other property of blockchains. So I do think we need to like accept that meme coins or, you know, things that are similar as the most accessible version of this, like, are going to probably be the things that onboard the most people over the next year and attract the most people here over the next year. But also think it's kind of a decent way to learn about digital ownership and wallets and, you know, markets and participate in internet culture and make internet friends. So actually, I don't know. I don't think that's a bad thing. And I do think we also need to kind of accept that we just don't have enough people doing stuff on chain yet for the real promise of social products kind of built on shared data and interoperable identity and digital ownership to just be better than, you know, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Like, most of our friends aren't here. We need something to get them here before we're going to actually have enough on-chain data for this stuff to be interesting. So I kind of think we need to almost lean, like, what we need is like better products that actually lean into the kind of like stark differentiation of meme coins and speculative digital assets, and then kind of like create increasingly meaningful social contexts around them. And then kind of over time, the like social job that these products can perform and serve starts to kind of eat away at the kind of like pure financial jobs that they serve. So I think it's kind of this, you know, couple of step process of probably going to be speculation and, you know, meme coins and things like that attract people in. Then we need to, you know, hook them with increasingly useful, you know, social products. I think we're just recently, with like the state of infrastructure, actually able to build decent consumer products for the first time. Like, you know, week after week, the stuff that this infrastructure is unlocking, I think is pretty meaningful and profound. So I also just don't think we've had enough time and cycles to really, you know, build the great products that we need. So I think kind of a combination of that, but curious what you think.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything insightful other than what you just said. I totally agree. I guess the way I think about it is like I think the comment that Vitalik is making, I would argue that like we are moving in a better direction, and we are year after year. There was this old adage where it's just like the best marketing for Bitcoin was the price going up. It like brought people to the space. Like they were able to speculate on this, you know, fixed supply, scarce object as the network grew. And I think if I like look back over the last 15 years of this technology, it just feels like the pipes and plumbing continue to get refined and better, and new use cases start to emerge. I mean, like 4 or 5 years ago, like if you were going to say like we want to put a full-fledged game that leverages blockchain as an environment, like it's just like there wasn't the infrastructure for that, just like there wasn't for social or for art, for collectibles, for, you know, other consumer use cases. And I think what will end up happening is like as more people come into the space, some percentage of them will have some of this donative intent that Hayden and Vitalik, I think, are kind of like promulgating here, and they'll build with that kind of baked into the core product loop, and they can move and continue to grow in that direction. And yeah, I guess like this tech stack is so like neutral, right? Like anybody can do anything with it. And so like the truth is like everything's kind of working. Like more people are coming into the space than leaving year after year. And some percentage of that are going to be people who want to build with more of like a purpose or donative purpose in place. And I think that's just time is going to solve and sort through that.
I feel like too, like, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting because I don't think that Hayden nor Vitalik launched a token with any mechanism that protected people or didn't dump to minus 90%. And it just feels like an arbitrary decision on like what is a business and what is not. Like the argument that Stoner Cats is more valuable because they were going to produce a show feels really silly when I know nothing about the distribution of that. So whatever, I can't speak on it, but it just seems like there's a ton of value in things dying and like fast.
Yeah.
I say that during Free Wi-Fi, somebody said this thing to me that they started talking about the trail of bodies in tokens, and just like which I thought was really interesting because you make a token, you LP it, you lock and burn it. That just literally lives forever. And on that minus 90% is when community forms, or people who actually value the thing, or people who really want to build, create the value, versus just like whatever, the 2018 Ethereum pump, you know?
You said something really interesting, and like we don't have to make this like a gendered conversation, but I do think that there is something interesting about like the business of selling block space, which is what Vitalik did with Ethereum. The business of facilitating a market through this AMM structure, which is what Hayden is doing, and the business of Iggy as an entertainer and creating an entertainment product and like products that extend from that, and privileging the first two while like kind of I think talking down to like that third category. And I see what Iggy's doing, and I think it's like a very interesting use of the technology. Like this is what it means for someone to create a product and service on top of block space. And I think we're just going to see more of it. And I think that's okay.
100%. Yeah. I think just more of everything, I think is just good. I think the thing we probably are missing a bit of is I mentioned it talking to Chris, is just the people like intentionally going after not crypto Twitter. And actually we talked a bit about it last week with Fantasy Top, and, had this kind of successful month targeting crypto Twitter, bunch of usage. Now it's kind of really fallen off. But I think now they have this interesting opportunity to say, okay, cool, that worked. We learned a bunch, test the mechanics. Now let's go try this at, some intersection of like crypto enthusiasts and like reality TV stars, and try to like really use this game as like an extension of their these people's fandom as much as it is like a financial product. So I think we just need more people to just like intentionally, try things like that, versus just, it's easy to just stay in this kind of crypto Twitter bubble because it's comfortable and we all know it, but we need the people doing the hard work to go.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear from both of you guys what you think of maybe some of like the more purpose-built social finance projects right now. I think I saw a tweet up there around Friend.Tech. I'm curious like to hear, this is something that I'm thinking about quite a bit. Curious to hear what you guys think is working and not working here.
Peace, you want to go ahead?
I don't know if I have any real strong opinions other than there's no way anyone is going to vibe me out of Friend.Tech. Like, I already put that money in Friend.Tech, I don't know how long ago, expecting to never see it. And every time I log in, I have a portfolio value that is higher than I think it should be. And they gave me free money. So like, yeah, I wasn't even that active on the thing. So there's no way that, like, that's the trail of dead bodies that I'm talking about. There's no way I'm going to sell that unless it does something really stupid. And I think there's value in that.
Yeah, I think Friend.Tech continues to just be like ahead of the curve with some of the like mechanics they're introducing. Like they kind of not invented, but were the first, they popularized embedded wallets, right? Like that was never, it's hard to remember now, but how like shocking of an experience that was to just be able to sign up.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And just it was like, that was just a completely new thing. And then suddenly there were, this kind of compounding kind of snowball of people following their footsteps. And I think, even though the product leaves a lot to be desired, I think they did something like that again with the, kind of contained world that they built, like having their own native DEX to be able to kind of capture the fees of trading their token, really like treating their token, I think, as a product, which we'll talk about next, and like a core part of this experience. And I think like, the app usage is one piece of it, but I think the token is just another piece of it. And there's kind of strong mimetic value there. People, are having fun playing games around it. And I think there's a lot of value there. So I love the continued Friend.Tech experience. Of course, I would love the product to improve a bit and, that get cleaned up. But I think it's a great experiment. Also continue just to be fascinated by the, like Unlonely and Pump.Fun and these kind of like meme coin centric social products. I think like increasingly, pump.fund, like you can just go and scroll and have like a pretty quick sense of like what is like the top, like the current like mimetic meta,
but a financial economy,
right? Which is crazy. And then now people can like live stream directly on this site. You can follow people. Like it's it's evolving into this social product on the foundation of this as like meme coins, as this like entertainment vertical. And I think Unlonely's kind of been on a similar thing for a while. So I think it's all, to Peace's earlier point, like it's all social and it's all fi. And I think there are lots of ways to build, social fi experiences, and who knows where it's going and how you build kind of lasting sustainable value there, and retain users for 6 months, if not a couple of years. But I don't know, I'm pretty confident someone's going to figure it out soon.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. I think the only thing I would just like plus one that you just said is it feels like the ingredients are here, and now it's just a matter of like configuring them in the right set. It's like we have cheap block space, we have fast settlement, we have things like smart wallets and embedded wallets, we have single state or no bridging on Solana, or just like very easy seamless migration from your Coinbase account to Base. We've got like experimentation around like tokens that's happening in different ways, and it feels like we're now at that point where like someone or all of these people at some point are gonna like crack on some core insight, and it'll be exciting to see how things evolve from there. But I tend to agree. It just feels like things are right.
Yeah, I think just go ahead, please.
I was going to just say the two things that are missing, the two ingredients are good posts and good drops. Motherfuckers just aren't posting like they used to be. I tell you what, there was some new ideas on Twitter, and now they're rehashing them. No, I don't know. I'm kind of, I'm just.
No, I like this. What do you mean good drops? Just like new product features or runs or like ideas? What do you mean?
Honestly, I think that NFTs haven't died. I just think no one has done a good drop. Like every good drop kind of like shattered people's understanding, or it was like a surprising thing. And we're all so fatigued and burnt out on that it's gonna, like, we're healing. And eventually someone is going to do a drop that reawakens our imagination, and hopefully people get out there and start making some inspiring posts as well. And like I feel like I sound facetious, but I actually think
we need more thought leaders. We need more thought leaders. We need more influencers.
Totally. And it also has to happen naturally, right? Because like no one was trying to do that. Exactly. They weren't self-aware yet, I think. In 2020, 2021, some people were just like posting from the fucking heart. And yeah.
We need to shoot from the hip again.
Yeah.
I agree with that. All right, let's jump to token market fit here. So Mark Beylin wrote a good article this week talk about token market fit. It was kind of building off his article from a few months ago called "The Token is the Product." But really just it explores how, he thinks you make a token people want, and really like looked at it through kind of the frames of narrative discovery and more efficient venture capital. So kind of talked a lot about the challenges of like balancing narratives that appeal to the broad market and will drive token demand with kind of the reality that the largest opportunities are often contrarian and misunderstood, and then kind of goes on to like summarize the big goal of tokens, of course, to like attract high value contributors and participants who really believe in the mission and are willing and capable to support it with their capital and energy. So, nothing like hugely groundbreaking in here, but I do think the perspective of tokens as products is still pretty like underappreciated, but I think it's getting increasingly important as we kind of move, away from these like infrastructure focused cycles when, tokens very much were de facto equity, and kind of like governance mechanisms and narratives were like very much enough to kind of serve that, that desire and job to be done. But I think like as we move into kind of a more consumer dominated cycle, as retail participation grows, I think the tokens that, most effectively speak to kind of the like beliefs and aspirations of people and give them access to experiences that they actually want are going to capture outsized attention. And ultimately, like, these are products of attention. So I think, actively, like, really treating products or tokens as products, and actively going to create a market for your token, making it feel great to own, creating meaningful social contexts for it to exist in and provide value within, are just going to get increasingly important looking forward. So I think really just wanted, like, a great article worth reading. Wanted to kind of emphasize, like, tokens or products. But Derek, curious how, like, with portfolio projects or just generally, like, how do you think about or talk about tokens with them?
Yeah. So really interesting stuff. I haven't had a chance to totally unpack the arguments here, so I might be meandering or misstating them. But I think the first thing I'll say is I don't know if I would paint with as broad of a brush in terms of just like the token is the products. Like a couple of examples off the top of my head. We work closely with a team called IYK. They don't have a token, but what they do is, create products and services that allow these off-chain objects to be indexed on-chain and for networks to be created around them. And gaming companies and fashion companies and real-world object companies are now leveraging these NFC chips on their apparel, and there's no token coming. And I would say, like, they're increasingly creating a valuable crypto company. Artblocks is another one, no token. At one point, I think the number showed it did like $1.7 or $1.8 billion in GMV. And like the list goes on. We've done a handful of deals that were acquired and never had tokens. So I don't know if I would say, like, the token is the product for all of crypto, just as a kind of primary statement. And the Crystal Floor is another great example. No token, indexing on-chain actions, creating social products. I think for projects that do have a token, I do agree with, I think, some of the points that the author is making here, which is just like, this thing is like a sharp knife, right? Like, it can cut both ways. It can be a massive like lightning rod for attention, for networking, for creating an army of believers in your product or service. And like, that's a superpower that we just didn't have before with internet-based software. It's also a knife in the sense that, like, it can cut you, and like, if you're not doing it correctly. And so, like, I do agree with, I think, the general thesis here, which is just like, there is some thoughtfulness that needs to be baked into, like, how these economies get built and networked and created over time, that can either supercharge your product or, like, completely handicap you from growing.
Totally. Do you think? Yeah, very much agree that, if you have a token, it's your product, or needs to be treated as a very, like, important extension of your product. Not a hard requirement to have one, of course. But do you, I guess, like, think about or looking at art blocks, for example, like, should they have a token? Would you like them to have a token, or like, how? It's an interesting thing to think about.
Art
Squiggle is just like the passive proxy to the Artblocks ecosystem. I think some people think so. I think there's probably some of that. But there's not like an ERC20 floating around out there that gives you, like, governance exposure to, like, how the contracts get like evolved and pushed, and some of, like, the fee structure gets kind of, like, spit out to artists and creators and so on and so forth. I think the does a token supercharge that product? I think maybe, but I also will say there's there's quite a bit of surface area to cover to build, like, an art institution on chain that doesn't really have anything to do with the community ownership at this stage. Do I think that, my view is, like, blockchain to eat all of this stuff. And so, like, at some point it makes sense to maybe make the governance structure of all products and platforms touch blockchains. But I'll also say, like, sequencing that out is probably the thing that I would really focus on for every individual project. For some, tokens on day one make sense. Like, I'm a big believer in things like fair launch, like credibly neutral architecture that, like, incentivizes people to come together and build like lasting value, or like the Iggy token, like, that is a product. Like, she's building an entertainment product right now that people are rallying around and excited about. And I saw yesterday that she's now, creating a store where you pay the Iggy token Mother to, like, buy the shirts, and everything's denominated in Mother. And you can imagine additional token sinks to create other additional loops for future products and services that Iggy and maybe others on our team create. So I don't know if I'm totally answering your question, but like it's to me, it's like very much like it depends. Like I just don't know if there's like a shotgun answer for every project building a protocol or a platform in our space.
Totally. I think they're both viable paths, right? Like, could Art Blocks launch a token and really evolve into a network that is potentially the, more broad than just the, the Art Blocks website and protocol? Like, definitely. Do they need to? Of course not, right? They $1.5 billion in GMV. I think, haven't actually checked in on it recently, but continues to do well, I assume, in some form.
And then like up and down. I mean, like so I need to dig into this article, and I think he's probably got some good insights as to like how to make a token valuable and why to be thoughtful about it. So I'm sure there's some good stuff in here that I definitely agree with. But I think it's just like I would never push a protocol or platform to like get that thing out in the wild, because like sequencing I think is very much an important part of the calculation here.
Totally. I think the risk factor is not launching one and then someone comes into a similar market opportunity and does launch one and is able to like unravel the network effects or capture a bunch of attention because of that.
Yeah. They are amazing attention creators, dude. It's like there's
insane
economics that people can tap into that's very sexy. So like I definitely see that argument.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's jump to Polymarket. So Polymarket had their best month ever in May, which is great. I think they did $63 million or something in trading volume. And it looks like in June, they're on pace to beat that so far. So the volume's heavily concentrated on a few presidential election markets. I think like the top 4 markets, which I think it's like Republican, Democratic nominee plus election winner, is like the vast majority of the volume. But still great to see, like, chart's great to see that they're finding some fit within that vertical. I think the question that I continue getting kind of caught on with like prediction markets as a product or platform is just like in this case, it's like the question of what happens after the election. And I kind of like often struggle to see the path to like broad appeal of like a broad kind of generic prediction market platform. And I think but I do think the idea of them and what they unlock is awesome, but have always kind of been more interested in like vertical specific implementations of them that can really like concentrate liquidity and ultimately, create more kind of specific social experiences around them. But kind of just wanted to bring this up to get, I think, prediction markets are like an obvious kind of long time stated great use case of crypto. So I was curious what your kind of general view on prediction markets was.
Yeah, I like them. I think they're just like you just said. I don't know if I have anything super insightful to add here, but like the data is pretty clear that like pricing future events and creating a market around them, like that's great use of the technology. It's like we're basically, taking traditional plumbing for like prediction and prediction betting and putting it on a global database that's international in nature, that runs 24/7. That settles near instantaneously. And it's like, that is a perfect format for these types of markets to form. And so it's not super surprising to me that like, that we're seeing like, these, the financialization of like these predictions in real time, like continue to just like go stratospheric. And I think that's just going to continue, honestly.
Yeah, totally. I've been playing with Kizzy a bit. Do you know Kizzy?
So I think you just had it up a second ago. I was trying to look through it.
It's like social media focused prediction market product. Well, I think like what's interesting and I think evident is they don't call themselves a prediction market like platform or something. They call themselves like social media betting, which is I think really a smart way to build a consumer product in this space. But yeah, basically what they've built is just like a narrow vertical of prediction markets that's focused on betting on like the performance of posts or follower counts for
very similar to like a fantasy top, but without the NFTs.
Exactly. Without the NFTs, without like the creator involvement in any way, just pure. And I think like already, I think it's in closed alpha. I think it's going to open up soon, but I think like already it's just going to be so much more appealing to people that are interested in this than like a kind of broad, but then like an order book focused prediction market. So I think there's just like tons of opportunity to kind of focus in on something like this and and build really great consumer products.
I think the core insight I took from Fantasy Top, which has been like, it's been an interesting product to follow, is like you can build credibly neutral markets on top of like third-party data, as long as we all kind of agree to the authenticity of the data. And like Twitter and Twitter performance is like a great use case. I think it remains to be seen. Like I would love to see like a tighter bundling of that product. Like honestly, like the holy grail is stuff that like you can't game. So it's like, you know, things where like you can't spoof accounts, or like, you know, you're really able to track identity, or like you can't pay for posts, and like, or there's some way to like manage and monitor that. I think you get closer to that end state with blockchains. So like take everything that works about Twitter, put it on a blockchain, and being able to create more provably fair markets to like allow these payouts to be, I think, represent more authenticity. But with that said, like I think directionally, like this stuff is super cool, and I think we're just going to see more of it. I remember this is kind of a stupid example, and I've shared this before, but like when I was playing NBA Top Shot in during COVID, so this was like mid 2020. It was interesting because like performance of like the games that day would be reflected in how the cards started to trade. So like, let's just say Luka Doncic had an amazing game or was on his path to like score a 30 or 40 bagger. Like his cards would start to trade in the market, like while that game was going on. And it was the first time that I had started to see like markets forming around real world information that everybody could kind of agree on. And, and I think we're just going to see more of that. I think it's going to look like prediction markets. It's going to look like social products like this. It's going to look like NFT games like Fantasy Top. So I definitely love the category, and like I'm curious to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's jump to NOTCOIN quick. So I'm curious how deep or how much you guys have looked into like TON as an ecosystem. So I talked about NOTCOIN way earlier this year. I think it was January, when it was kind of like first catching steam, and just kind of played with it a bit. You know, it's just like you tap the coin, and that was kind of the game. But you were mining, you know, this token that would be eventually released, and it was released last week, I think, and they ended up having like 35 million people play, peaked at like 6 million DAOs. This token's trading at like a $2.2 billion valuation. So like crazy performance for this like tapping game distributed through like a pop-up in Telegram. And then now we're seeing Hamster Combat, I guess, is like kind of blowing their numbers away. Like they've had like 100 million unique players of this game. So I don't know, there's something happening in TON, and Telegram is like a distribution channel. Not super deep in it yet, need to be, but curious how much you guys have looked into it.
Quite a bit over the last few years. So like, I guess I'll first start off by saying there has been, I think, like this belief in like core social consumer crypto that like things need to get built from the ground up, and like need to leverage blockchains in like this really unique way. Or like maybe there's a financialization component, or like there's a SocialFi component, or like tokens need to be baked in. That's like that creates a net new experience for like a consumer Web3 crypto product to like take off. Like I've been seeing folks post about that idea for maybe let's call it like 12 months. And I just like don't think that's true, right? Like they're at some point, like these things are weighed on a scale, and 800 million users trapped in like this contained like experiment with like a very killer execution around a social game that very lightly touches blockchain. And frankly, it's just like a Web2 clicker or like a Web2 runner, or it's just like a very casual consumer game. Like these things can get fucking big. Even if they're not creating some like net new design space for like social experiences. And I think Telegram is proving that out like very quickly. Anyway, when you've got like almost 1 billion users that are spending 10 hours a day in this app, and like they're totally trapped in this experiment or experience, and like now there's blockchains and crypto and peer-to-peer transfers and protocols that can launch and games that can be abstracted inside of the experience. It's like, dude, I mean, like that's a pretty interesting ingredient mix for like something to get 30, 40, 50 million users in a couple of days.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think, like, do you see the opportunity as being like Telegram as top of funnel or distribution for something that you like, you know, eventually pull them into some standalone product? Or or do you just think there are big companies to be built purely existing within Telegram?
Yeah, so I would say the investable surface area for like apps and protocols and things building on top of Ton and within Telegram, I still think like, we're still trying to sort that out as a fund, and we've placed some bets there. But I guess the larger point is like there's definitely value there. Like we I mean, this, dude. Like this is a tension world we live in. Like and I mean, I don't know about you, but my entire life runs through Telegram. Professionally, personally, it's like we're all very much like captive users inside of like this attention network. And I think there's going to be like slam dunk home run products that like come out of this thing. And frankly, like it'll probably earliest look like a completely different segment. It's not going to be like the hardcore crypto users that want the innovation or some net new design space get unlocked around social. It's probably going to be people who want to click their screen 1,000 times a day and, have some like ownable, ecosystem reward token that they can use in all sorts of other ways. So I would say like moderately bullish and like interested to see like what comes out of this ecosystem.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, well, we're over time. Pieces pulling up pictures of shirtless Bezos, so I think it's time we log out of here and shut this thing down.
I just think it's interesting. I think that there's got to be, I don't know what's going on, but there's like a bald CEO meta going on with this, because like the CTA that you have is you like shave your hamster and then you become a CEO, which I just fuck with. I'm going to be paying more attention to hairless people from now on.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say thank you both for having me on with my very mid takes this morning. I appreciate you both. I love this format. I think this is the first time I've sat through the entire thing, and maybe my favorite format.
It's fun. It's fun.
Really cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming. Open invitation to come hang out whenever you want. Peace. Awesome. Thanks for doing your thing today.
Thanks,
time, everyone, for showing up, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Take care.